I have recently purchased an industrial sewing machine. In this video, I'm going to recover the bottom portion of a Dodge pickup truck seat. I'll show you the process and what it takes for a beginner to get through a job like this. And then I'll answer the question, can I get filthy rich doing upholstery work? Stay tuned to find out. I will be your host, the one and only infamous Kentucky Yankee without a doubt. Here we have a dilapidated seat bottom from a Dodge pickup truck. What you'll see on this video is a combination of things that I learned from other upholstery YouTube channels. One thing I saw and liked and makes sense to me is a guy would mark all of these seams. See, like this. He'd use chalk, but I'm using a Sharpie so I don't lose my marks. But see how that lines up there? That way I'll know it. See how this spot right here lines up with that, see? So I'll mark these spots to give myself a reference when I cut my pattern and put it back together. Can't really overdo it. If you make a mark there, you can use it or not use it. I don't think it matters that much. I don't think you can really overdo it. Using a roughed up dull razor blade, intentionally dulled because I guess it's supposed to pop threads easier. So I'm going to give it a try. Ooh. Leaving the foam in for now because it's easier, I think, to get it apart like this than taking it off the foam and having to hold it. It's held there for me right now. This razor blade trick works good, check it out. And it's dulled up so it doesn't cut the fabric, just the threads. Hog rings holding this seat on, so we'll snip those off. And looks like we have a few in the middle. When we go back together with it, these will be the first ones to go on. How do I know that? Common sense. There's this piece on the inside where the hog rings go, so I'm going to mark that so I know where to put it back. All of the pieces separated as far as I'm willing to separate them right now, and I'm going to start by making this piece right here. I'm going to do one piece at a time. I just realized I have to separate this piece because it is a separate piece and it has this part on it for the hog rings. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to try
some chalk. Let's see how this works out. Look at that. If I cut on the inside part of the chalk, should be the same as that little fine line I have with the permanent thing. That's not going to show up, that permanent deal, because it's going to be sewed up on the inside of the seat. My least favorite thing about doing upholstery work, I've learned, is this part. I hate copying the patterns. See how close, symmetrical they are. Not horribly off. A little bit. This is sew foam, and the reason it's called that, it has this backing on it where you can sew. You put the fabric on this side, and then you're able to sew on this side. The old seats, they didn't have sew foam. They just had this crap foam, and then they put these strips where they sewed it of material. We won't have to do that. All we need is this. This is not good glue, but I need to get some good glue and a spray gun for glue, you know, the good stuff. But this will work for now. On a project like this, it'll work. Secretly, I'm doing 2 seat bottoms. You guys don't know about that. That's why I got this extra piece right here. These scissors are crap. I'm trying to keep these scissors nice for my cutting fabric, but I just need to get another pair, I guess. Those other ones are junk. I have to mark where these lines go. I'm just going to put a little tiny dot here on the very edge, so I'll have something to go by. I'll use a straight edge after this. I'm going to use this measuring device here to keep all the lines nice and straight. See, I can look through here and make sure that it's even, and it is. Have to use chalk for this part. I don't know what else you could use. China marker, but it doesn't seem to work very good for me. I was thinking before I started sewing, how am I going to keep these lines straight because the chalk is so wide. And it turns out the chalk actually fits right in the middle of the foot there. See, it's just as wide as the center of the foot. So it's real easy. Just line the center of the foot up with that wide chalk line and you'll have a straight line. Now I've got to attach this to this, and underneath here is this part where the hog rings are held on. And this is still good, so I'm just going to reuse it. I need to mark center of this and center of that so that everything lines up good. So I'll just fold it in half. I've got this little notching tool. Just gives it a little snipperoo. Can you see that little notch? Mark center of this. When I sew this up, I'll start from the middle and go this way, then I'll start back from the middle and go that way. And I won't forget to install this little piece right here either. Looking pretty good. The one thing I'm going to do different on this than original is I'm going to put a top stitch on there. So what that means is you'll fold this fabric over one side and then put a stitch right next to there, and it'll just make it stronger. The reason I keep looking underneath here is to make sure that that fabric is folded over this way so that it's getting sewn. So there's a top stitch. This piece right here is all crinkled and wrinkled up, so I'm going to use this steamer to try and straighten it out so I can get a more accurate pattern. Hopefully. Just gonna do the best I can on this one. I sewed around the edge of these two pieces just like we did these other ones, and now we'll attach them to the two sides. Remember our marks? I'm now going to mark the pattern in the same spot that these marks were in. So this was lined up with that, so I am going to just mark it like that. Kind of wish I marked the front, but I don't think I did. See, that would have been helpful if I'd have marked the front too, to know where it was going to land at. I could use my notcher and go down through here and put notches in and keep them lined up when I sew, but this time I feel like I'm going to use my stapler, and that'll just hold it exactly where it needs to go. I just feel like that's the way I'm wanting to do it this time. Now I'm going to do the same with this other side, and then we'll sew it up. The staples work great for holding it, but you will have to take them back out when you get done. And that can take a little bit of time. Well, what do you think? Everything's really looking cool, man. Except I did not want to forget to sew these in, and I did. But that's okay, I think go back right now and sew them in. All fixed up, little mistake there, that's all. I've decided to reuse this. It seems pretty tough. I see no reason why it wouldn't work, so I'll just sew it back on there. This is one of my very own tricks. If a pattern is kind of flimsy or whatever, I'll staple it to some poster board, and I'll cut it out with some scissors, and it'll be a nice stiff pattern for me to copy. Instead of making this 1, 2, 3 pieces, I just made it one, and then I did end up making this piece separate right here. I made a couple marks here, if you could see them. And a mark on this. I'm having to do a little something different on this part. It'll make sense momentarily. This lower part does not need foam, so I'm going to sew the outside edge like we always do, and I'm going to sew up through here too to make it strong there. This is what it looks like. I kind of folded it over and sewed it so I could see where I needed to sew the foam there. This doesn't need foam, as I said. And there is what we have. Now I'm going to sew this to this. This is where the marks are most handy. I don't know if you can see this, but they've notched it from factory right there. Can you see that? It's sticking out. So I'm going to take my piece, set it right here on it, and I'm going to put a little mark here, just barely with this, and then I'll hit it with a chalk or something, but I just want a real clear mark that I can see. And this mark will line up right here with the very bottom of this part. So it's wanting to go right about there. So that's how those two will fit together. I'm just loving the stapler. It just makes it easier for me. And I can get a sneak preview of what I'm doing and everything. And that's done. I need to sew this on real quick. There she is, all sewed up. This side I'm going to do a little different. I'm going to cut this section out right here and save it. This section, and this section I will make one piece instead of 3. I believe this will work out just fine. I went ahead and got the front done. This is the top. I noticed the top is always wider on seats. So like where it wraps around, the bottom part will be more narrow than the top. I'm going to mark the middle. Makes a nice pretty little notch. And I can line that up with the top part of the seat. Sewed on the seat belt loop real quick so I don't forget it when I sew this all together. Now we'll sew this onto here. I'm running out of things to say. Sewn, I guess. Sewn. There was a button that went through this fabric right here, I can tell. Something that went through to hold it in place. So on this one, I reinforced it in the back. See, I put an extra piece of vinyl to make it strong there where it holds, where they're gonna have to stick a hole through it. Now we'll sew this side to the front and this side to the front, and then things will be starting to get interesting. I'll have to sew this onto the seat bottom. All one piece, and I did put the hold down on also on the bottom. I've notched the middle with my little notcher tool here. Now I'm going to notch these two seams, one here and one here, to keep them lined up. And also, as I go around, I'm going to notch different places as a guide to keep me in line. Now I'm gonna kind of hold it here and roll her around and put more notches. I have my magnet set up here, so it'll give me a 1/2 of an inch. I need a 1/2 of an inch on this seam. And you start in the middle on this, and we'll go this direction, and then I'll turn it around and go the other direction. I'll be taking my time. I don't want to screw it up now. And there's no point in you folks watching this either, so I'll shut you down and get back with you in a minute. So far so good, everything's looking okay, but now it's time for a French seam is what they call it. So that is 2 stitches, one right here and one right here. And if I screw this up, then I've ruined the whole seat cover. So I need to be careful when I do that. Originally, the French seam did not have a backing strip, but I'm gonna put one. This is a farm truck, and I want it to be strong for this fella. So this 1-inch strip will go on the back, and I will face this up towards the gray. What I learned is that if you use a different fabric, like they make a fabric that's strong and you can put it, you know, underneath there, but it's not the same color, so if the threads get pulled a little bit, you can see underneath it. So I thought, why not just put this on? If you see under it, it's going to be gray, just like the seat. Makes more sense to me. This is double-sided tape. It's made for fabric, and I need all the help I can get on this part of the job, so I'm going to take it. Did anybody catch that? I put the tape on the wrong side. Remember, I wanted this to face up. Obviously, a person with experience would not have to be doing this. That's nice though, isn't it? See that? That'll give me a nice smooth surface to sew on. Make sure that your bobbin is full before you start French seaming, because it is a one and done. You can't start and stop. Look at this. I'll give you guys a close-up. The reason I'm laughing, I just got done with a French seam, only the top, and I did forget to check the bobbin, and look how lucky I got. I almost ran out of thread, and that would have ruined the whole seat. This is a new piece of foam, brand new, for like 25 bucks. Feels like it's pretty good quality, so I thought, why not? Because remember, our other one was crap. Here, I'll show it to you. For $25, to me, this is not worth messing with. I did sneak this strap on while you guys weren't looking. I forgot to sew it on, so it's on there now. There it is, a completed seat bottom for our Dodge pickup truck. I am pretty happy with the way it turned out. It'd be nice if I could show it to you stretched out on the seat frame, but the truck's not here. And as I said earlier, off scene, in secret, I actually did 2 seat bottoms. My final thoughts. Can one man get rich doing upholstery work? No.
and I'll tell you why. Because one man is limited to how much work he can get done in one day, and that dictates how much income you can make for each day. If you enjoy doing this kind of work or any other trade, then I strongly suggest you do it. You're not going to get rich, but you're going to make a good living. You know what they say, if you enjoy what you're doing, you never work a day in your life. Thanks for watching. I am the one and only infamous Kentucky Yankee without a doubt.